Hi, everybody. Today we are continuing our Back to Basics series, and we are going to work on a few black and white portraits. As usual, we'll begin with our basic drawings. And once again, I'm using a model, but only as a guide, extracting only the essentials elements of it and simplifying it before starting the actual painting. However, if you'd like a deeper explanation of drawing fundamentals, we have a video focused entirely on drawing, where we explore simple techniques both with and without a model. Here, you can see the refined sketches for the 5 compositions we'll be working on today. And please, 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 don't feel intimidated if the previews look a bit more complex than usual. You will see as we paint that they follow the same flat, simple approach we always use. They are simply blocks of color laid onto the surface. The texture, the volume, everything will come from layering the paint on top. For this exercise, I am working on a 50 by 70 textured paper. It is 250 GSM, and I'm using acrylics today, but you can easily achieve the same results using gouache, watercolor, or even oils on paper. And of course, if you prefer to work on canvas, both oils and acrylics will give you the same effect. As you can see, I'm painting directly onto the paper using my sketch as a guide, and I'm only using 2 mixes of color today, okay? Both made with burnt umber and blue. And for the darker tone, I added black. And for the lighter one, surprise, surprise, I added white. What I'm doing now is simply filling in the shapes with solid blocks of color. Something that always helps is to begin by painting the outlines and the edges. This not only marks the areas you'll fill in, but also prevents you from losing your sketch lines once the paint goes over them. Another thing that I highly recommend is letting your brush follow the natural direction of the forms. For instance, let the brush move along the nose, the chin, the contours of the face. This not only helps you maintain your sketch lines, but also adds a subtle texture to your composition. And that's all we are doing, okay? All the smaller details come simply by layering more paint. Usually I work with 3 basic layers. The first one is to mark the shapes. The second is to add volume. And a third one to add highlights and shadows. If you want your painting to stay flat, you just stop at the first layer. But if you want a more realistic effect, or if you want more texture or volume, you can add additional layers. And before you know it, your first composition is done. This is the process we will follow for all 5 pieces, okay? We stain the background with a basic color, fill in the shapes with solid blocks of color, and once the first layer is dry, we begin building details by simply layering more paint. I am going to speed up the video here so you can see how the layers build up. As you can see, these are still simple blocks of color. Layer by layer, the paint adds volume and interest. I could have left everything flat, like we've done so many times, but it's always a good thing to experiment, to explore, and not to get stuck in a single way of doing things. Now, before we go on, I want to tell you something important. The main goal of these exercises is not to teach you how to draw or how to paint. I'm not here to make you follow my style or methods. And I certainly don't expect you to make things the same way I do. Okay? I am aware that some of you might feel inclined to do the same things that I'm doing, and that's absolutely fine if that helps you learn. But this is not my goal. My goal here is to show you how simple and easy things are once you stop overthinking them. And I'm here to encourage you to free the artist inside you. I want you to discover your own way, how you paint, how you create, how you see the world, and how you translate the world you see into your own work. What I demonstrate here is just what I do with the materials I have. But the real goal is to show how easy it can be for you to find your own marks, your own shapes, your own voice. Many people hold back because they want to do too much too soon. It's like saying, I want to be healthy, so I'll start by running a marathon. But that's not how it works. Everything has a process. And although we live in a time and age where everything feels urgent, creativity still follows its own organic rhythm. Do you want to know what is the hardest thing in art? It is beginning, finding the courage to start something new, even if it's uncomfortable, even if you're unsure, even if it doesn't seem perfect. The hardest part is convincing yourself to simply start. Ending things is easy. And please don't confuse ending with finishing. We often end things that are far from finished. We discard ideas, abandon projects, walk away simply because they challenge us. We also tend to think that we are in a constant competition, always fighting, always giving more than we are taking. And that's one reason people feel a little bit intimidated when they have to start something. Because beginning something often requires giving before we get anything. And if we don't know what we'll gain, it is just natural that we hesitate. No one likes to lose. But something I've learned a long time ago is that losing often is just an illusion. We often think that we've lost simply because things didn't happen exactly as we planned. We assume success only counts if it follows our script perfectly, even when the outcome is better than expected. Of course, it is good to have control of things, but sometimes we're just wrong. And sometimes we don't know what's right. And sometimes we don't even want what is right. And it takes courage to accept that we cannot control everything. When things don't go our way, it can make us angry, insecure, frustrated. But before diving into that pool of negativity, we should ask ourselves with honesty, what is that we are actually taking, so that we can see clearly if we are actually losing or simply not understanding or accepting victory. These moments should teach us to understand our surroundings, to understand our limitations, and to recognize that we are not in a constant war. We are constantly telling ourselves we must win, we must achieve, we must prove something. But often We are not fighting at all. We are just living. So why treat life or everything around us as if it's a constant battle? So, in a short, beginning is frightening because it asks us to let go of control, to take risks, to give without knowing if we are going to take anything from it. But starting is also where all possibilities live. When we allow ourselves to begin imperfectly, uncertainly, we open the door to discovery, to growth, to creation, and often to what makes us happy. Fun fact, for those who don't know, this channel started when I moved to Rome, and it was originally intended to share the process of downsizing and organizing things and doing some DIYs and things. But then I realized that I don't feel much comfortable talking to the camera. Anyway, but during the process of downsizing, I realized I had a large amount of art materials that I wasn't using at all. Then I thought, why not use those materials to paint and use the channel to share the process? So I'd like to think of myself as a teacher. I don't feel as if I am teaching you anything. I am simply making some art and sharing with you what I know. The main purpose of these exercises is not to teach you how to draw or paint, and definitely not like me, okay? The main purpose of this community is to encourage you to free the artist inside you. Art doesn't have to be just for selling or for exhibiting or decorating or anything. Art, above all, helps with self-discovery. When you start making art, you dare to wander in places inside your head, inside your heart also, that you weren't daring to explore, okay? And when you finish a piece, you realize you can start something, you can complete something, and you can bring something into existence from basically nothing. That feeling is powerful, and that's why I believe art is for everyone, regardless of how early one might be or how little, if any, formal training one has. And these are the results of what we've done today. I hope you've learned something new today and that these exercises have shown you how simple it is to add texture, even when we make it as basic as we did today. And if you're hesitating, that's okay, but don't allow that prevent you from starting. Don't allow that prevent you from creating. Don't allow that prevent you from doing things that might give you additional meaning, pleasure, discovery, happiness, even if sometimes it might also lead to pain, discomfort. It eventually will give you more than it takes. As always, keep on practicing and thank you for joining us.